Long before the arrival of strangers across the sea, before iron horses thundered over the land, there was a time when the desert mesas of the Southwest were alive with voices that spoke to stone, sky, and fire. This is the story of a people who shaped their world from earth and spirit. The Ancient Puebloans, ancestors of today's Hopi, Zuni, and many others. It was an age when every sunrise was a prayer, every harvest a gift, and every star a message carried across the endless night. The land stretched wide, red cliffs glowing in the dawn, canyons carved by rivers that sang through time, and mesas rising like altars to the heavens. Water was rare, precious as life itself. The people followed the clouds, listened to the voice of thunder, and marked the movement of the sun with careful eyes. Their homes, stone villages tucked high in cliff walls, looked like nests of eagles. From above, they seemed to grow from the rock itself, as though the earth had given birth to them. At dawn, the village stirred. Smoke rose from hearths where women ground corn with stone manos, the sound rhythmic, steady, a heartbeat of survival. Men prepared for the fields. With tools carved from bone and stone, they coaxed life from dry earth, planting corn, beans, and squash. The three sisters, whose roots and vines embraced one another like family. Children fetched water in clay jars, their laughter bouncing off canyon walls. Elders sat in shaded kivas, telling stories of creation, of journeys through worlds below and above, of spirits who guarded the balance of life. Every task carried weight. To weave a basket was to honor the spiral of the cosmos. To paint a pot was to sing to the rain. To plant corn was to place a prayer into the soil. Yet the desert was not always kind. Droughts could stretch across years, crops wilted, rivers shrank to dust. The people learned to read the language of clouds, to dance for rain, to sing songs that rose into the sky like smoke. They watched the movements of the sun, for it carried prophecy within its light. When the wind howled through the canyon at night, people whispered of spirits, kachinas, ancestral beings who brought rain, fertility, and balance. To neglect them meant hunger. To honor them meant survival. They believed the world was woven together by threads of harmony. Break one thread and the whole cloth unraveled. The sun was more than light. It was a being, father, guardian, timekeeper. His daily journey was sacred, and the people tracked his path with shadow markers carved into stone. One story told of a day when the sun would pause in the sky, refusing to move. This would be no ordinary day, but a moment when balance itself trembled. When people would have to decide whether they lived in harmony with the earth or apart from it. One summer, the heat came early. Rains hid themselves beyond the horizon. Crops bent low, their leaves crisping under the relentless sun. Elders gathered in the kiva, the air heavy with sage smoke. They spoke of signs. A hawk circling the same path each morning, a serpent carved in rock glowing in moonlight. The sun setting too far north, its shadows falling strangely across the markers.
The prophecy comes the day the sun stands still.
Fear spread quietly. Mothers clutched their children closer. Hunters returned with fewer rabbits, fewer deer. The drums of ceremony grew louder, echoing across the cliffs. At night, fires blazed in the plazas. Dancers wore masks of rain and cloud, antlers and feathers, their movements weaving between shadow and flame. Songs rose into the sky, pleading with the spirits. The young ones asked, would the sun truly stop? What would become of us?
And the elders answered not with certainty, but with story. If our hearts remain true, if we walk in harmony with the earth, the sun will move again. But if greed or neglect has broken our bond, then the sun may burn us all.
On the day of the summer solstice, all gathered. Atop a high mesa stood the Sun Watcher, a man chosen for his patience and clear vision. Beside him lay a spiral carved into stone. As dawn rose, the first shaft of light pierced the spiral. The people held their breath. Time itself seemed to pause. The sun did not climb quickly as it should. It lingered, heavy, as though unsure whether to rise or fall. Silence swallowed the desert. Even the wind stilled. Children pressed against their mothers. Elders closed their eyes in prayer.
Father, Son, remember us. We are your children. We honor the earth, the water, the corn, the clouds. Do not turn from us.
The moment stretched long, a breath held across the world. And then, slowly, the sun began to climb once more. Relief swept the village. Cries turned to song. Tears fell like rain that had not yet come. The people knew. They had been tested. The prophecy had spoken. The sun had stood still to remind them that harmony was fragile, that survival depended not only on crops and rivers, but on respect for land, for spirit, for one another. Generations later, the story lived on, in carvings etched into canyon walls, in spirals of stone marking the sun's path, in dances still performed by the descendants of those who once watched the sky in silence. The prophecy became a lesson, not of fear, but of balance, that humanity is small, that the world is vast, and that only by walking gently can we endure. And so, when the sun lingers at the height of summer and shadows fall strange across the earth, the people remember. They tell the story of the day the sun stood still, and they whisper, "We are still here. We are still watching."